So hi everyone, I'm Inês. I'm a nutritionist and I'm a PhD student. And as Patricia told you, I'm going to speak a bit about how the gut microbiota can really contribute in some way to rheumatic diseases. So I'd start by presenting you really what is the microbiota, and really this is this set of microorganisms that include bacteria that are actually the most studied ones, but it also include fungi and viruses and other microorganisms that exist in almost every organ of the human body. They exist in the skin. They also exist in the lungs, in the urinary tract. So these we really have these microbiota, this set of microorganisms through our body. We are focusing during this presentation on the gut microbiota. And as you can see, we have different sets of microorganisms through the gastrointestinal tract. So we have some bacteria in the oral cavity, in the mouth. We have less bacteria in the stomach because the conditions, the acidity of the stomach, it's not really welcoming to a lot of bacteria. And then we have progressively more bacteria until we reach the colon or the large intestine. So you can see that this is really a dynamic ecosystem that is influenced by all the conditions in the different organs. And the highest density of the bacteria, more bacteria exist really in the large intestine or the colon. So looking at the gut microbiota, there are a lot of factors that can influence its composition. We start by before we are born to be influenced by our mother's microbiota, that it is influenced by her age, by her habits, her diet. Then it is influenced by the way we are born, if it was a C-section or a vaginal birth, and then for the place we are born, if it was at home or at a hospital, and if we needed assisted care in intensive care units, for example, it also will influence our microbiota composition, and it continues to change after we are born, through the way we are fed, if it was a formula or breast milk, and for all our environment, really. So there is this change of the gut microbiota, and the first 3 years are really important for shaping this baseline microbiota, and after 6 months, when we start to eat food besides milk, it is also very influenced by our diet, but it also is influenced by pets, by siblings, if we are in contact with other children or not. So it is really dynamic, especially during these first 3 years. Then it gets progressively more stable, and when we reach adulthood, it really is stable, but it's also influenced by lifestyle habits, by disease, by antibiotics, for example. And then when we get to older ages, it really decreases its diversity, and still is influenced by all these factors, but it really decreases the diversity. So there is this change in the gut microbiota during the life cycle, but all these influence of several factors, such as diet, as I've mentioned, but also by the place we are living, or if we do exercise or not, if we are living in a place with high pollution, for example. So all these factors really are always influencing our gut microbiota composition. And The study of the gut microbiota is a hot topic in research right now. It has been really studied in several diseases and rheumatic diseases also. And really, as Patricia mentioned, dysbiosis, which is this imbalance of the microbiota, seems to be contributing to several diseases. So like cancers or autism or heart diseases, and also rheumatic diseases such as rheumatoid arthritis, juvenile idiopathic arthritis, and spondyloarthritis, for example. So this imbalance in the gut microbiota, it seems to in susceptible individuals leads, or it can lead to some of the manifestations of the disease, but also the disease will obviously influence the composition of the gut microbiota. So this is really this vicious circle that is feeding itself. And Patricia already mentioned a bit how can the gut microbiota really influence and contribute in some way to rheumatic diseases. So what it is thought is that dysbiosis, which is this imbalance in the gut microbiota, can lead to an increase in gut permeability, which really is this increase in the space between the cells in the gut, and this will lead to the passage of some molecules produced by the bacteria or even bacteria to the bloodstream, and will stimulate some immunological events that will then reach the organs and affect them in an unbeneficial way. And really, there are not a lot of studies in studying the gut microbiota in pediatric rheumatic diseases, but the ones that exist really show that it seems that there is this subclinical, that pediatric rheumatoid patients with pediatric rheumatoid diseases have this subclinical intestinal inflammation, which is assessed by these markers, calprotectin and colonoscopy. Subclinical intestinal inflammation is this subtle inflammation that can that is there, but it doesn't give a lot of symptoms, but it can be detected by these exams. And these patients also seem to have this alteration in the gut microbiota composition and a decrease in diversity. And what the decrease in diversity does is that it turns our microbiota less resilient to all these changes in the environment and the diets that we all have through our life, and leading these changes to an alteration in gut permeability. So looking a bit more closer to the influence of the gut microbiota in juvenile idiopathic arthritis, the mechanism is really not different of the one I've mentioned before. So genetic factors, environmental factors, diet, lifestyle seem to or can contribute if they're not beneficial to dysbiosis and to this increase in permeability, which also is called leaky gut. And this can lead to an alteration in the composition of the gut microbiota and to an alteration in the function on interactions between the microbiota and the cells in our gut, really stimulating these immunological effects that pass through the bloodstream to the joints in this case. And we can think that, well, these rheumatic diseases are more or less the same, and obviously it's not that, but we can think that they have these common characteristics, and for that reason, the composition of the gut microbiota, even if altered, can be like similar between patients with different rheumatic diseases, but that is not the case. Really, the studies show us that there is really different compositions of different profiles of gut microbiota for different diseases. So I'm showing you this slide not to talk about specific diets, but just to show you and to mention that diet is this lifestyle factor that really can influence the gut microbiota composition and the gut permeability, because dietary nutrients really are substrates for the gut microbiota, and they can really shape the composition. So it really is a focus when we think of modulating in some way the gut microbiota. And also looking at the studies that exist showing results about gut microbiota, diet, and juvenile idiopathic arthritis. Once more, there are really few studies and not always good quality ones. So either studies assessing the gut microbiota, but also the dietary patterns and their impacts on symptoms with in patients with GIA. So there are really lacking good quality studies in this area, but some observational studies that assess the dietary intake of children with GIA show that the energy intake, the total calories of the diet of these children really are usually below the recommended dietary intake, which also can leads to decreased intake of some vitamins and minerals, which are really important. And some children have low body weight, but also other children have high body weight. Neither are benefic, and really translates in GIA patients having a higher risk of malnutrition. So when we think of gut microbiota, we also have to have in account the diet, and it's important in this patient's life.